Hey guys, so this is Daniel. I am sorry for the wait on another video, but here another video is. I played a week ago now. I played in a simul. It was like an Indian charity simul, to help, the prevention, of the spread of coronavirus or whatever. Something legit. And I'll give you a link in the description, but they essentially, they signed up like 5 or 7 grandmasters, Indian grandmasters. You pay the entry fee, which all the proceedings go to that relief, and they select you a grandmaster to play a simul game with. I think it was like $25 for just any grandmaster. I could have paid like $100 or $150, I think, to play former world champion Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand, but I just decided to stick with the $25 and play an Indian Grandmaster, as it's really rare, especially for an amateur like me, to get to play a Grandmaster, so I just thought here was my shot, and sure enough, I was paired with Harika Dronavili. I probably botched that name, but she's 2,500, good for the Grandmaster title. So, yeah, I had black. I think the time control was 45 minutes with a 30-second increment. And, I was nervous. I mean, you expect to lose going into these games against Grandmasters, even if they're playing in a simul. I mean, just like a year or two ago, I played an international master in an in-person simul. I think that simul had like 15 players in it or something, and I got crushed by him. I think Harika was playing like 30 or 20 games at a time. So, anyway, yeah, let's look at this game. And if you saw the thumbnail, the not meant to be clickbaity thumbnail, you will see that I got a draw out of this. So, I'm going to show you how to draw a Grandmaster. Well, okay, it's not going to be any cheat sheet that'll let you draw any Grandmaster, but I'll show you how I did it here. So, she played the Queen's Gambit. Just to be honest, given that I was facing a Grandmaster, I was glad she played d4. That's probably what I would have, the opening I would have hoped she would play, because, if she played knight f3 or c4, I just feel like she's going to know her theory and crush me, because I just play whatever, and I feel like if she plays e4, I'm learning stuff with 1e5, not 1e4, 1e5 is black, and I just didn't want her to do something and eventually crush me, so I was happy actually to face d4. So I played d5, c4, e6, knight c3, and most people here play knight f6. The thing with knight f6, and it's not a bad move, it can allow this line that I like on the white side, with takes, and bishop to g5, kind of the, just kind of the exchange positional line. You get a pin, and then the development's just pretty straightforward, so I actually played this system kind of designed against that pin variation with bishop to e7, just essentially saying, well, you can take, but after that, bishop to g5 is not an immediate possibility. It could be when I play knight f6, but that's just kind of an opening quirk. But anyway, knight f3, I played knight f6, and here she plays g3. She's going into a Catalan structure. I'm pretty sure the idea with the Catalan is you're putting this Catalan bishop on g2, and, there's tension here. And the goal is for essentially this bishop to apply pressure on the diagonal, because I actually ended up taking the next move, and that's what you're supposed to do, and I'll explain why in a second, but it's kind of like, the King's Indian Defense, bishop, or the Sicilian Dragon bishop. You're just trying to exploit that side of the board that is open. Now, why did I take and just open the diagonal? Well, if I take any sooner, say, I don't know, I take now. Well, if I take now I know that she would do this. I don't know what the theory is, because she already committed to g3, but she has the option, well, she could play e3, or she could play queen to a4 check. Either move, e3, like in some lines, like, let's say here, if takes, she has the option to play queen a4 check and just win the pawn back, or she could play pawn to e3, and the idea is to recapture with the bishop. So essentially, kind of the theoretical nuances, as soon as the bishop commits to g2, and my king is castled, so she has no queen a4 check, I have the option to play d takes c4. And basically, I am giving away that pawn, or I'm taking that pawn that she is not necessarily going to get back anytime soon. Now, she played the most accurate move. She played knight to e5, and here, I played this, it feels like a gambit line because I'm up a pawn, but it's kind of a weak pawn. This gambit line I learned, it's just one of those, this is actually my first time playing this opening move, because I'm kind of new to the bishop e7 setup, you know, in the Queen's Gambit declined. I played knight c6. Now, knight c6, it looks counterintuitive because there are two attackers on c6, and if she gets a pawn, then the pawn I'll have a weak c4 pawn. If she takes that, she'll be up a pawn. So, why that? Well, we can see how the game develops after bishop takes c6, b takes c6, knight takes c6, queen to e8, knight e7, queen e7. Okay, let's just pretend we're down a pawn. I know it's equal, but she's going to get that c4 pawn anytime now. So why did I go into this? Well, a few factors play into it. I am going to block my own bishop on b7 and have my own kind of Catalan bishop. Those light squares are weak. White generally castles kingside anyway, so when I put my bishop on b7, it can play a key attacking role, as it's going to take a while just to develop and castle on the queen side anyway, and there's probably no point in that. And then also, not only do I have this open diagonal, I have this open d-file, potentially. So plans like rook to d8 and pawn to c5 could really come into play. It's just all kind of discomfort for white. You know, white has the comfort of being, you know, having the extra kind of, you know, pretty much having, by default, an extra pawn, but we kind of see why I am willing to play into this, and we'll see how that eventually paid off. I mean, sometimes when we're playing Grandmaster, you can't be timid. Like, I seriously considered, right here, when she played knight e5, just playing something timid, like knight b to d7, then I probably would have gotten crushed, honestly. I mean, I'm not even sure what she'd do, maybe f4, maybe, like, just kind of leave it there and just let the e-pawn be a thorn. I'm not sure, but sometimes when you're playing Grandmasters, or high-rated players just in general, you really don't want to be timid. You want to just kind of give it everything you got. Just really believe in yourself, because if you play to the fact that your opponent is a Grandmaster, then you're going to lose for sure. You just gotta play this as a regular game. So, queen to a4, bishop b7, so she castled understandably. I played c5. She played queen c4, c d4, queen d4. So I'm down a pawn here, but here comes a rook on the d-file. She played queen to h4. I went queen to c5. Kind of walking out of this pin, you know. Bishop to e3, queen to c6. Obvious checkmate in one threat, but she's a Grandmaster. She's probably done a million mate in ones, so I'm sure you'd have to be sure she saw that. f3. Her kingside is a little bit compromised. It's not really something I can take too much advantage of, but that's always just nice to know. I have this kind of diagonal pressure on the king side, and it's just kind of compromised in general. So, I play knight to d5, just trying to gain some activity with the knight, and in the event that she trades, which she does. Now, this is an interesting moment, and I would encourage you to actually pause your video and think about this. There are three possible ways to recapture here. The queen, the pawn, and the rook. Which way would you recapture? So just feel free to pause the video, and then I will see you after the pausing. So, e takes, I automatically disqualified. Not only does it give me an isolated d-pawn, it kind of blocks my coordination on the a8 to h1 diagonal. She can play something like rook a to d1, and these pieces may never really see the light of day like they did in the past. So e takes d5 is disqualified. Queen takes d5, you have to be... It's alright. You have to be kind of careful about it. It's kind of like, she could, if she wanted to, play rook f to d1, and do you want to trade the queen for the two rooks? I mean, in theory it's good, but queen takes, rook takes, rook takes... I don't know. There's something daunting about your opponent, your Grandmaster opponent, having a queen and you not. I mean, I think she might be having a good position after queen e7, bishop c5. You know, that just does not look great overall. You know, my point is, after queen takes d5, your queen is potentially exposed. So I played rook takes d5. I just go ahead and put my rook in the front with the idea to bring a rook and potentially a queen all on the d file, making not an Alekine's gun, which I always thought it was, but it's not. It's with the queen in the back, but, you know, kind of like a triplet on the d file. That's my plan. So she plays rook a to c1. I play queen to d7, king to f2. I play pawn to a5, b3, pawn to a4, b4, rook to d8, rook to c2, rook to d1, rook takes, queen takes, rook to c1. I just play queen back to d7. Now it starts to become apparent, and I could point this out actually a few moves ago, but this is kind of winding down towards an endgame, and guess what? It's an opposite color bishop endgame. My bishop is on the light squares and hers is on the dark squares. Guess what? That gives you great drawing chances. But also guess what? If you saw one of my previous videos, you'll know that not all opposite color bishop endgames are drawn. So just because I have opposite color bishops down a pawn against a Grandmaster does not make this draw trivial. But I certainly have that on my side. So queen to f4. I just go ahead and swap rooks, rook c8, or offer a swap. She declines with bishop c5. I play queen to d5, hitting a2. She plays rook to c2. I play rook to d8, gaining full possession of the d file. Bishop to e3. And here was when I made a blunder, but it turns out it's really a complicated blunder, and I'm not going to really blame myself for not seeing it, and I don't really blame her for not seeing it, as she was going through like 20 boards at a time, and she probably just didn't have time to calculate everything through. So I played queen to d1, which certainly seems natural. My idea, if she didn't do anything, was just to go queen to h1 and then penetrate from there. So white played rook to d2 and essentially just forced a trade of rooks and then went from there. So what winning sequence did white have? White had the option of playing rook to c7. At first when I saw this, I was like, oh shoot, I missed that. She is attacking my bishop and she is attacking my pawn. However, I remembered during the game, I'm pretty sure I considered this, at least subconsciously, and thought that rook to d7 was good. So, you know, why is it a blunder then? Well, it turns out there's this variation where white plays rook to c1. I have to keep my queen. My only square for my queen is this. So if I go to d6, then, I guess also d6 is an option, but what happens after d6? It would be something like, you know, yeah, that's what I thought, rook to c7. And then the bishop is just totally exposed, and then she can push her pawn. Okay, so queen d6 is an option, but if I go queen to d5, as we were also looking at, then she has the move rook to c5. And the idea is, if I go all the way back, she has queen to b8 check. And when I block with the rook, she wins the bishop. So, that's that. It's pretty complicated, but, you know, I just thought I'd point that out, that I made a mistake here. She missed it, but it was pretty hard anyway. Okay, so back to the game. Rook takes d2, bishop takes d2, queen to c2, queen to b8 check, but I just was able to play queen to c8. That was my whole idea of playing queen to c2 to be able to block with queen to c8, and she just traded. I mean, she's going to try one last time to win this endgame. King to e3, I played bishop to a6, which I thought at the time was a good move, because if she plays king to d4, I have bishop takes e2. Now, I was going to need to calculate some lines, like if she just kind of gambles it and goes king to c5, but here, it may be better later, but here, it's really good for me. I just can take here, and then I can really bring my king in, and then just contain this pawn. I should be fine here. So yeah, after bishop a6, she just didn't go for those risks. She went a3, king f8, f4, king e7, bishop c3, attacking the pawn, so I just played g6, king to d2, pawn to f5. I just wanted to just kind of lock down the structure. e3, king d6, bishop f6, king d5, king c3, king e4, bishop d4. Yeah, then here I played bishop to d5. So I really knew this had to be drawn because by now, because I could just move my bishop back and forth, and then, yeah, there's really no way for her to make progress. Yeah. And then after bishop to c5, she offered a draw, and I accepted it. Yeah, well, there. That is how I drew a Grandmaster. See, I'm sorry. I know I'm a bit rusty. I think it's been about a week since I posted a video, so I think it's obvious I'm a little bit rusty. I do hope to have more videos out soon and more consistently. But yeah, Daniel here for another video. Just leave a comment, give me a like, and give me a subscription. Would be greatly appreciated if you were willing to do that. Then yeah, I will see you soon for another video. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one, guys. Stay safe.